Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at Patient Grissil by Dekker, Chettle and Haughton. And we are 2 acts in. We're about to start Act 3. We've sort of identified the glaringly obvious from space issues with the plot of the play, but we've also had this sort of complementary problem of finding the dialogue quite well written and some of the characters really interesting, and we love Babulo, so there's a really good clown, and it's not a rubbish clown, it's a good clown. It's a clown which actually does jokes that land, and also the possibility the clown will just come on and punch the Marquess in the face every so often. We're really hoping that happens, and if it doesn't, we'll just put it in anyway. So always the background threat of comedy violence to ensue in a play, which is shall we say, dancing around the various flavours of misogyny that is available in the early modern period. So be warned of that. Reading today, Babulo, Farneze and Reese is...
It's me, it's Alan, based in Suffolk.
Reading Grissil, Julia and Gwenthyan is...
Briony Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
Reading A Boy and the Marquess is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author based in Romford.
Reading Laureo, Lepido and Urcenze is...
Lois Potter, retired academic based in London.
Reading Janiculo, Onophrio and Mario in Act 4 is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading Furio, Mario in Act 3, Emulo and Sir Owen, unless I can unpack them onto somebody else as we go. There's a certain amount of extreme doubling, so there's always the slight possibility that we're all going to start talking to ourselves. But fingers crossed, that won't happen. Anyway, Act 3, Scene 1 starts straightforwardly enough with 2 different people speaking to each other, or in fact singing to each other. Act 3, Scene 1, enter Babulo singing with a boy after him.
La, 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 la. Boy, how sits my rapier? Losso, losso, losso.
It hangs as even as a chandler's beam.
Some of them deserve to hang on a beam for that evenness. Boy, learn to give every man his due. Give the hangman his due, for he's a necessary member.
That's true, for he cuts off many wicked members.
He's an excellent barber. He shaves most cleanly. But Page, how does that like the court?
Prettily, and so.
Faith, so do I. Prettily and so. I'm weary of being a courtier boy.
That you cannot be, master, for you are but a courtier's man.
No, thou sayest true, and thou art the courtier's man's boy. So thou art a courtier in decimo sexto, in the least volume, or a courtier at the third hand, or a courtier by reversion, or a courtier 3 descents removed, or a courtier in minority, or an under courtier, or a courtier in posse, and I thy master in essay.
A posse ad esse non est argumentum, master.
Thou hast too much wit to be so little. But imitation is his good lord and master.
Enter Janiculo, Laureo and Furio.
Banished from court. Oh, what have we misdone?
What have we done that we must be thus disgraced?
I know not, but you are best packed. 'Tis my lord's will, and that's law. I must uncase you. Your best course is to fall to your own trades, and Furio strips them.
Sirrah, what art thou, a broker?
No, how then? I am a gentleman.
Thou'rt a Jew, thou'rt a pagan. How darest thou leave them without a cloak for the rain, when his daughter and his sister and my mistress is the king's wife?
Go to, sirrah fool. My condition is to ship you too.
There's a ship of fools ready to hoist sail. They stay but for a good wind and your company. Ha! I wonder, if all fools were banished, where thou wouldst take shipping.
Peace, Babulo. We are banished from the court.
I'm glad, which relieves me of a charge here. As long as we have good clothes on our backs, it is no matter for our honesty. We'll live anywhere, keep court in any corner.
Enter Grissil.
Oh, my dear Grissil.
You from me are banished, but ere you leave the court, oh, leave, I pray, your grief in Grissel's bosom. Let my cheeks be watered with woe's tears, for here, and in the error of these wandering eyes began your discontent. Had not I been by nature painted thus, this had not been. To leave the court and care be patient. In your old cottage you shall find content. Mourn not, because these silks are taken away. You seem more rich in a coarse gown of grey.
Will you be packing when?
Friend, what's thy name?
Furio, my name is. What of that?
Is thy name Fury? Thou art half hanged. Thou hast an ill name.
Thy looks are like thy name. Thy name and looks approve thy nature to be violent.
Brother, forbear. He's servant to my lord.
To him, master. Spare him not an inch.
Princes are never pleased with subjects' sins, but pity those whom they are sworn to smite, and grieve as tender mothers when they beat with kind correction their unquiet babes. So should their officers compassionate the misery of any wretch's state.
I must obey my master, though indeed my heart, that seems hard, at their wrongs doth bleed. Pray, get you gone. I say little, but you know my mind.
Little said is soon amended. Thou sayest but little, and that little will be mended soon. Indeed, that's never. And so the proverb stands in his full strength, power, and virtue.
Enter the Marquess, Mario, Lepido, and attendants. Oh, they will not go, my lord.
Will they not go? Away with them. Expel them from our court, base wretches. Is it wrong to ask mine own? Think you that my affection to my wife is greater than my love to public weal? Do not my people murmur every hour that I have raised you up to dignities? Do not lewd minstrels in their ribald rhymes scoff at her birth and descant on her dower?
Alas, my lord, you knew her state before.
I did. And from the bounty of my heart, I robbed my wardrobe of all precious robes, that she might shine in beauty like the sun. And in exchange, I hung this russet gown and this poor picture for a monument amongst my costliest gems. See where they hang. Grissil, look here. This gown is unlike to this.
My gracious lord, I know full well it is.
Grissil was as pretty a Grissil in the one as in t'other.
You have forgot these rags, this water pot.
With reverence of your highness, I have not.
Nor I. Many a good mess of water gruel as that yielded us.
Yes, you are proud of those your rich attires.
Never did pride keep pace with my desires.
Well, get you on. Part briefly with your father.
Our partings shall be short. Daughter, farewell.
Our parting shall be short. Sister, farewell.
Our parting shall be short. Grissil, farewell.
Remember thou didst live when thou wert poor, and now dost but live. Come, son, no more.
See them without the palace, Furio.
Good, yet 'tis bad. Exeunt Janiculo and Laureo with Furio.
Shall Furio see them out of the place? Do you see it turn us out of doors? You turn us out of doors then?
Hence with that fool, Mario. Drive him home.
He shall not need. I am no ox nor ass. I can go without driving. For all his turning, I'm glad of one thing.
What's that, Babulo?
Marry, she'll never hit us in the teeth with turning us, for 'tis not a good turn. Follow her, I must cashier you. I must give her over housekeeping. 'Tis the fashion. Farewell, boy.
Marry, farewell, and be hanged.
I'm glad thou takest thy death so patiently. Farewell, my lord. Adieu, my lady. Great was the wisdom of that tailor that stitched me in motley, for he's a fool at his basket making to turn courtier. I see my destiny dogs me. At first I was a fool, for I was born an innocent. Then I was a traveller, and then a basket maker, and then a courtier. And now I must turn basket maker and fool again. The one I'm sworn to, but the fool I bestow upon the world. For stultorum plena sunt omnia. Adieu, adieu.
Exit Babulo.
Farewell, simplicity, part of my shame, farewell. Now, lady, what say you of their exile?
Whatever you think good, I'll not term vile. By this rich burthen in my worthless womb, your handmaid is so subject to your will, that nothing which you do to her seems ill.
I am glad you are so patient. Get you in.
Exit Grissil.
They like will never be, never have been. Mario, Lepido.
My gracious lord.
The hand of poverty held down your states as it did Grisel's. And as her I raised to shine in greatness sphere, so did mine eye throw gilt beams of your births. Therefore, methinks, your soul should sympathize, and you should know what passions in my Grisel's bosom flow. Faith, tell me your opinions of my wife.
She is as virtuous and as patient, as innocence as patience itself.
She merits much of love, little of hate. Only in birth she is unfortunate.
Aye, the memory of that birth doth kill me. She is with child, you see, her travail past. I am determined she shall leave the court and live again with old Janiculo.
Oh,
wherein you show true wisdom.
Do I indeed? Dear friends, it shall be done. I'll have you two rumour that presently to the wide ears of that news-loving beast, the multitude, go tell them for their sakes this shall be done.
With wings we fly.
Swifter than time we run.
Exeunt Mario and Lepido.
Begone then. Oh, these times, these impious times, how swift is mischief, with what nimble feet doth envy gallop to do injury. They both confess my Grissel's innocence, they both admire her wondrous patience. Yet, in their malice, and to flatter me, headlong they run to this impiety. Oh, what's this world but a confused throng of fools and madmen, crowding in a thrust, to shoulder out the wise, trip down the just. But I will try by self-experience and shun the vulgar sentence of the base. If I find Grissil strong in patience, these flatterers shall be wounded with disgrace. And whilst first lives, the fame shall never die of Grissel's patience and her constancy.
Exit Marquess. End of scene. So everybody's out pretty much. The courtiers who we didn't. Not courtiers. The father and son of Grissil. They're on the way out. The courtiers of possibly having some rope handed to them by having their opinions asked, and even Babulo, though he takes it in a more philosophical bent from the wheel turning there. But even at the beginning of the scene, Babulo has his own servant, and seems like Babulo seems to have picked up some Latin. I don't know how accurate his Latin is later on, but certainly I do like the way he's sort of trying to wax lyrical, and the boy just fires off some Latin at him, and he's just going, and he does the usual the size of book gag, which we've had many other places. So yeah, the plot continues, and the Marquess continues to do things. Alan.
Yeah, it seems Latin must be infectious in the court. I've got absolutely no idea what those words were that I actually said when Babulo suddenly drifted into Latin.
Oh, it just means, the world's full of fools, really. I mean,
Right.
He's just sort of summing up what he's said to a large degree, because he's talking about he's going back to being a fool again, and a poor basket weaver's and a fool. Lynn.
Yeah, I think I see this version, this iteration of this traditional tale, working really hard to kind of morally redeem the story that we can't avoid, the story that's sort of in place already. Because so the Marquess is finding out the true colors of his courtiers. Furio, who was pretty eager to, he was pretty down on the marriage in the first couple of acts, but now he's starting to soften and feel kind of bad for these people who are being punished not for anything they did, but for their unpopularity or for their lack of status or what. So Furio is starting to soften a little bit, and the other two courtiers, who are they? Lepido and Mario, are turning out to be hypocrites. They know what the Marquess is doing is kind of wrong, but they refuse to speak truth to power, and we're like, okay, yeah, well, we're behind you. We'll back you up. So the Marquess is like sifting out the good ones from the bad ones in his court, and that's something that to be gained from this whole performance, this whole thing he's staging. But still,
it's interesting looking ahead. In just around the corner, literally on top of this, that we're going to have Marston doing very similar things. In the sense that there's a ruler who's sort of going around testing people. You've got obnoxious courtiers who may or may not get their comeuppance. We even get mention of a ship of fools. I mean, there's some things that Marston is literally going to unpack in a year or two. And one's wondering if he's sitting there just popping in and going, oh yeah, there's some good stuff here, but maybe we'll just detach it from the other stuff and produce something else. We even have a random boy servant exchange moment as well. So it's sort of that's really interesting, and that sort of connective tissue of plays in possibly in conversation with each other. Alan,
I did wonder actually with that exchange between the boy and Babulo and with the Latin, whether this was actually riffing off the boys' company stuff where they played these Latin games.
I mean, they don't play it very hard, but yeah, there might be an echo there that these things are in conversation in both directions. Just about possible at this point. Boys' companies are kicking off again. Other thoughts before we move on? Briony's just getting into the groove, getting a sense of what this text is doing, and remaining very sensibly silent at this point. Okay, let's go into Act 3, Scene 2, as we're going to pop back to the other plot. Enter Urcenze and Onophrio at several doors, and Farneze in the midst.
Onophrio and Urcenze early met. Every man take his stand, for there comes a most rich purchase of mirth. Emulo, with his hand in a fair scarf, and Julia, with whom he sighs apace, and therefore, I'm sure, he lies apace.
His arm in a scarf? Has he been fighting?
Fighting? Hang him, coward.
Perhaps he does it to show his scarf.
Peace. Here the ass comes. Stand aside. See him curvet.
They stand back. Enter Emulo and Julia.
Did my new married cousin, Sir Owen, wound you thus?
Certes, he is as he is allied to the illustrious Julia, I live his devoted. As Signor Emulus' enemy, no adulatory language can redeem him from vengeance. If you please, my most accomplished mistress, I will make a most palpable demonstration of our battle.
As palpably as you can, good servant.
Oh, she gulls him simply.
She has reason. Is he not a simple gull?
And an alarum ere his battle begin.
Peace!
Sir Owen and myself encountering, I veiled my upper garment, and enriching my head again with a fine velvet cap, which I then wore, with a band to it of orient pearl and gold, and a foolish sprig of some 9 or 10 pound price or so, we grew to an impalance.
Oh, this is rare.
You did wisely to confer before you combated.
Verily we did so. But falling into the hands of bitter words, we retorted a while, and then drew
his gloves to save his hands.
No, his handkerchief to wipe his face.
He sweated pitifully for fear, if it were true. If...
I was then encountered with a pure Toledo silvered, and elevating mine arm in the drawing, by Jesus, sweet madam, my rich cloak loaded with pearl, which I wore at your sister Grissil's bridal, I made it then, by God, of mere purpose to grace the court, and so forth. That foolish garment dropped down. The buttons were illustrious and resplendent diamonds, but it's all one.
We're all scarce one.
Divine lady, as I said, we both lying.
I'll be sworn thou dost.
I must recognise and confess very generously and heroically at our ward, the Welsh knight making a very desperate thrust at my bosom before God, fairly missing my embroidered jerkin that I then wore, and with my poniard vapulating and checking his engine, down it cut me a pair of very imperial cloth of gold hose, at least long thwart the cannon, at least.
And missed your leg?
Aye, and his hose too.
And missed my leg, most bright star, which advantageous star in I, this leg, having a fair carnation stocking on, stumbled, my spangled garters in that imprison fell about my feet, and he, fetching a most valorous and ingenious career, invaded my rapier hand, entered this gilded fort, and in that passado vulnerated my hand, thus deep, I protest and contest heaven.
No more. It's too tragical.
I conclude. My thought, by the syntheresis of my soul, I had not been imperished till the blood, showing his red tincture at the top of a fair enveloped glove, sunk along my arm, and spoiled a rich waistcoat wrought in silk and gold, a toy of
He'll strip himself out of his shirt anon. For God's sake, step in.
My opinion is I shall never recuperate the legitimate office of this member, my arm.
Signor Emulo.
Poor Emulo.
Sweet and accomplished signors.
Madam, you had a pitiful hand with this fool. But see, he's recovered.
But servant, where is your other hand?
See, sweet mistress, one is my prisoner.
The other I have ta'en up with the fine finger.
Look in his scarf, Farneze. For another, he has a third hand, and 'tis pitifully wounded. He tells me, pitifully, pitifully.
Wounded? Oh, palpable. Come, a demonstration of it.
Give him your larded cloak, Signor, to stop his mouth, for he will undo you with lies.
Come, Signor, one fine be now to apparel all these former in some light sarcenet robe of truth. None in this mint?
Why, servant, is your accomplished courtship nothing but lies?
Fie, Signor, no music in your mouth but battles, yet a mere milksop.
Fie, Emulo, nothing but wardrobe, yet here all your trunks of suits.
Fie, Signor, a scarf about your neck, yet will not hang yourself to hear all this.
Servant, I discharge you my service. I'll entertain no braggarts.
Signor, we discharge you, the court. We'll have no gulls in our company.
Abram, we cashier you, our company. We must have no minions at court.
Oh, patience, be thou my fortification. Italy, thou spurnest me for uttering that which I only sucked from thee.
How, Italy? Away, idiot. Italy infects you not, but your own diseased spirits. Get out, you froth, you scum, because your soul is mud, and that you have breathed in Italy. You will say Italy hath defiled you. Away, you boar. Thou wilt wallow in mire in the sweetest country in the world.
I cannot conceit this rawness. Italy, farewell. Italians, adieu. A virtuous soul abhors to dwell with you. Exit Emulo, stage right. Enter Marquess and Sir Owen.
Peace, servants, here comes the Duke, my brother.
Lo, cousin, here they be. Are ye here, gentlemen? And Julia too? Then I'll call your eyes to testify that to Sir Meredith I do deliver here 4 sealed bonds. 'Cause, have a care to them, it much behooves you. For, gentlemen, within this parchment lies 5,000 ducats, payable to him just 14 days before next Pentecost. 'Cause it concerns you, therefore keep them safe.
Warrant her shall long log a rub 'em from sun and moon and 7 stars too, I hope, but argue, cousin Marquess.
Now what's the matter?
Oh, pox on it, 'tis scold matter. Well, pray, cousin Marquess, use her Letty Grissil a good deal better, for as God hurt me, you hurt Sir Owen. I'll cry a maging as sad and pout, so see you.
Hurt you? What harm or good reap you thereby?
Harm, yes, by God's lid, a poggle teal of harm for long you cousin and cousin Julia and Chettle all, for all is I know of her wife's case, you know her Targo to wife the good widow Gwenthyan.
True, cousin, and she's a virtuous gentlewoman.
Not me this time.
Where are we? Is it me?
She's a virtuous gentlewoman.
One of the prettiest ladies in the world.
She's wondrous beautiful and wondrous kind.
She's the quietest woman that I ever knew. A good heart. She'll put up anything.
Cousin, I am proud that you are sped so well.
Are you? By God, and so am not I. I'll tell you what, cousin Marquess, you all know her well. You know her face is little fair and smug, but her has a tongue goes dingle-dangle, dingle-dangle, petter, and worse than pells when her house is afire. Patient? Sir Owen shall tug her heels and run to Wales, and her shall play the devil out to cry, devil, a pox on her la.
Why, cousin, what are her qualities that you so commend her?
Commend her? No, by God, not I. Ha! Is no her qualities petter and petter, for I commend her, but Gwenthyan is worse and worse out of cry. Oh, out of cry worse, out of all cry. She's feared to be made fool as Grissil is, and as God urge me. Her madge fine pooby fool of Sir Owen. Her shied and prawl and scold, by God, and scratch terrible sometime. Oh, and said her will do what her own. Ha! And so in were handsome bachelor again. Pray, cousin Marquess, tan some order in Grissil, or teach Sir Owen to madge Gwenthyan's quiet and tara her.
To tame her? That I'll teach you presently. You had no sooner spake the word of taming, but mine eye met a speedy remedy. See, cousin, here's a plot where osiers grow. The ground belongs to old Janiculo, my Grissil's father. Come, Sir Meredith, take out your knife, cut 3, and so will I. So, keep yours, cousin, let them be safe laid up. These 3, thus wound together, I'll preserve.
What shall her do with these, Pete and cog her, Gwenthyan?
You shall not take such counsel from my lips.
Enter Mario.
How now, Mario? What news brings thee hither in such quick haste?
Your wife, my gracious lord, is now delivered of 2 beauteous twins, a son and daughter.
Take that for thy pains. Not for the joy that I conceive thereby, for Grissil is not gracious in the eye of those that love me. Therefore I must hate those that do make my life unfortunate. And that's my children. Must I not, Mario? Thou bowest thy knee. Well, well, I know thy mind. Virtue in villains can no succour find. A son and a daughter, I by them will prove my Grissel's patience better, and her love. Come, Julia, come, Onophrio, coz, farewell. Reserve those wands. These three I'll bear away. When I require them back, then will I show how easily a man may tame a shrew.
And they exit, leaving Sir Owen, but I need a break. To figure out who the hell I am. Yeah, let's just go back to Emulo. Little set piece there of I was terribly wounded in my look at my terrible wound, of which that reminds me of many things that we've danced around. Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah, I think, isn't this stolen from Every Man Out of His Humor, where I think Fastidious Brisk describes a duel which involves a description of all the clothes he was wearing. I think that's the one. And the other thing is just, can anybody work out exactly what happens when these three guys come forward? And they obviously do something that reveals that Emulo has a perfectly unwounded arm. I mean, they're all making jokes about it. In other words, he's completely lying. But what do they do?
I assume they just grab his bandage and unravel it. That's what I was assuming. It wasn't particularly clear. They render him into silence for a long time. So those lines of dialogue after that sort of unclothing, as it were, must be presumably quite aggressive and quite quick. So they sort of forced back or something like that. That's how it's feeling to me, but I could be wrong on that front.
Yeah, I wondered if there was some clever idea. Everybody makes very elaborate bows and he can't restrain himself from doing the same thing or something, with lots of arm gestures, and then realizes, but I don't know. Anyway, some trick, obviously.
Lynn, then Alan.
Yeah, maybe they greet him and go to shake his hand, and without thinking, he reaches out to shake their hand, and it's like, oh, that's my bad arm. But yeah, I was also noticing this. I don't remember this episode from Every Man, but Lois is intimately familiar with that play, so she knows. But so it's just an excuse to describe his absurdly luxurious clothes. I mean, like, ridiculously expensive, like inappropriately, even for a courtier, I think, is what we're supposed to get from that. It's like the level of luxury and decoration is he's either lying about it or it's really inappropriately luxurious for someone who's not an actual like head of state.
And what's the tragedy of this duel? It's not that he gets injured or anything. It's that he gets blood on his clothes. It ruins the fabric. I'll never wash that out. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering whether, in fact, the three mocking chaps should actually have exited before this dialogue between the Marquess and Sir Owen.
Good question. I mean, or they're just silent. No, they do interact with some of the stuff that goes on afterwards, though, don't they?
They're kind of a chorus. I mean, their main purpose in life is just to stand around laughing at other people.
And then so Owen said some stuff. I have no idea what he said. Literally, I said it. I haven't a clue what was going on there beyond some stuff. Briony.
Thus far, there's no actual Welsh in there that I can discern. I do speak some, and yeah, I think it's just an attempt at writing the dialect, which.
Well, yeah, there is a convention for Welsh, which is you have this her you just throw in. You just throw it in as a sound. Occasionally it connects to a word in a sentence, and sometimes they just throw it in as just a thing that you just sort of a noise you make to keep the accent in place. Though, to be honest, every time I tried to follow the way it was written, I wanted to go Irish rather than Welsh, and I was very lost. Bits of it felt that worked. We did actually have some dialogue the other day which was actually written to be Welsh. We haven't really had any of that today, so it'd be
When
interesting.
Gwenthyan comes in, maybe.
Yeah, so we may get a bit more of that when we go.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed was I think Mage is Meg, which is make, really.
Tage is take.
Yeah.
Take.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're shifting certain consonants around. Alan.
And also in Owen's speech, whenever you've got a P, it is actually a B.
Yeah.
Rendered phonetically.
Yes,
Yeah.
that at least was relatively straightforward. I got that one. But yeah.
Well, Gwenthyan is going to come in and she's going to be saying Turdog Hui. So if Briony knows what that means, that would help. Oh, well, forget that.
Yakida.
Yeah.
I've sprung a leak.
Let's begin at the beginning. Okay, we'll continue the scene because Sir Owen is left on stage. Heaven help me, and the scene continues. Especially if someone's just tossed over their shoulder the name of a play. So we'll see where that takes us. Ha 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 ha! Tame a shrew. Oh, 'tis out a cry terrible hard, and more worse than term a mad pull. But what mean her cousin to match at curt her ones? Ha ha! God hudge me! 'Tis fine nag, I see her knavery now. 'Tis to pang Gwenthyan's poddy, and she mak a noise and prabble. It's not so, by God's lid, so, and Gwenthyan, Sir Owen will nog you before her abide such horrible do. Enter Gwenthyan and Rhys. God's lid, her comes. Turdach, Gwenthyan, Turdach.
Turdog we, Sir Owen, Turdog we.
Oh, long here fine ones, Gwenthyan is not.
Rhys, attack them and preak them in pieces.
Say you forsooth?
What say you, forsooth, you saucy knave? Must her tell her once, and twice, and thrice, and 4 times what to do? Preek these ones.
Rhys is preach is pate. Here, Rhys, carry her home.
Where would I were at gallows, so I were not here?
Do and her tear, do and her tear. See you now, what shall her do with wands? Pete, Gwenthyan, body, and make Gwenthyan put her finger in me hole? Ha, ha, by God is scratch her eyes out, that touch her, that talk to her, that look on her. Mark you that, Sir Owen?
Yes, sir, mark her, Rhys. Pray mark her, lady.
Not I, sir. She'll set the marks on me, then.
Is prate, go to Rhys. I'll Rhys her, you tog you.
Pray, Gwenthyan, be patient as her cousin Grissil is.
Grissil? How? Grissil? No. Her shall not make Gwenthyan such ninny, pooby fool as Grissil. I say, preek her ones.
God's blood, it pug her to peep dust out of her purg clog and parrels.
Peter cloak and parrels? Fie. 'Tis lie, Sir Owen, 'tis lie.
Your worship may stab her. She gives you the lie.
Peace, Rhys, go to. I pot them indeed to mad her horse run and go a mighty teal apace. Pray let Rhys tag bid in, good Gwenthyan.
Rhys bear in her wands, because Sir Owen begs so gently.
Go, Rhys, go, lock them up in a box or chest, go.
You shall not need me, big go, for I'll run.
Exit Rhys. I bought them for her horse. Here, e'en now was her cousin Marquess, and brought her all these scribblings here for her money. Gwenthyan shall have her ponds, and keep her wisely. Sirrah Gwenthyan, I will tell her brave news. Grissil is brought to a bed of a gentleman and gentlewoman. Is glad out a cry. Speak her fair. Yes, truly, Grissil is brought a bed.
Grissil? No poddy but Grissil, what care I for Grissil? I say, if Sir Owen love Gwenthyan, shall not love Grissil, nor Marquess so. See you now.
God udge me, not love her cousin? Is Shalius. Oh, is fine Trig not love her cousin? God udge me, her will and hang herself, see you now.
Hang herself? How? Gwenthyan's t'other husband is scorned to say hang herself. Hang herself. How?
God blood! What cannot get by prose is got by how! Is a terrible lady. Pray be peace and cry no more. How! Ah, son Gwenthyan's, God udge me, is very fury.
Oh, mon Iago, mon Dieu, hang Gwenthyan's.
Ah, go logo we Gwenthyan bethog on monion do.
Nefaetho en thoni na waith gethly tea. Hang Gwenthyan's.
Oh, Sir Owen shall say no more, hang himself. Be out a cry still, and her shall pew her and car to ride in, with fine new horses, and nor pew coats and pages to follow her heels. See you now.
But will her say no more? Hang herself?
Re-enter Reese. Oh, no more, as God hudge me. No more, pray leave. How?
Tonic in the Flow hath brought your rebate. Comes to £3.
What a pestilence! Is this for Gwenthyan?
For her neg, it's called Repito. Gwenthyan wear it here. It's not brave.
Brave, yes, it's brave. 'Tis Repetos, I warrant her. Aye, potatoes out of thy cry. Yes, 'tis brave. Oh, Reese the priest.
Rouser says £3.
£3. Gwenthyan, pray do not pay it.
By God udge me, her shall pay it.
God udge me, her shall not.
Shall not? Reese, tag her away. I say her shall, and wear it pie.
Then, Madge, a pooby fool of so Owen indeed. God's blood shall, I say shall not. £3 for a pubble for pytos? Here, there, that's so. Tag it now. Wear it now, pout her neg. Shall priddle Sir Sowin. Ha!
Oh, rare Sir Owen. Oh, precious night. Oh, rare Sir Owen.
How to rascals? You prayed and prayed. I'll praid your nakes.
And beats him.
Oh, rare madam. Oh, precious madam. God. Oh!
And exit Reese.
Is Dominia now? You tear her ruffs and repartos. You prick her pons. I'll tear as good pons and pet her too. And
And tears the bonds. Oh, Gwenthyan, God's blood is 5,000 ducats. Hold! A pog's on her pride. What has her done?
Go Lug is now paid for her repetos. I'll have her and Will's desire. I'll tiger priddle her lady. Catho croge nefaetho en thoni na wathi natla tea.
Exit Gwenthyan. Oh, breathe whether or no tea priddle her? Sir Owen is priddled. I warrant widows were pelter, God's blood marry her, were better be hanged and quartered than marry widows, as God udge me. Sir Owen fall on her knees and pray God to tag her to a mercy, or else put better mind in her lady. All pretty gentlemen's tag heed now, how her marry vixen widow. Oh, Sir Owen up Meredith can rightly tell, a shrew sharp tongue is as terrible as hell. Exit. I did actually follow what was going on, which was, yes, once we sort of clicked
Miraculous.
into that. Yeah, I'm not paying for that. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Anger, fury, inappropriate marriage, bad things happen. Yeah, okay, thoughts from the room. Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah, I was picking up a few things about the language. I think her seems to mean both I and you, depending. And that thing is not a potato, it's a rabato, which is, I think, a thing you wear on your neck. Lynn would probably know. It's some kind of clothing.
I actually do. I was hoping someone else would know what that was.
Well, it's definitely something you wear. I mean, she already referred to her ruff, but they're ruffs and rabatos. And I think the rabato is something like a ruff, but different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Fancy a bit of lace or something.
Yeah.
Yes. Any spouting of a sound form that was like potato was entirely just me getting through the script. It wasn't representative of anything.
Yes.
I was going for the energy, not the accuracy.
Yes, no, this could be very effective in performance. I just thought everybody might like to know what her
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Lynn.
So you're like Algernon playing the piano. Anyone can play accurately. I play with great feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, but apropos of nothing. So what I was thinking is that clearly the play is trying to emphasize the contrast between Gwenthyan and Grisel. Grisel is extraordinarily patient and tolerant and, then obedient, blah, blah, blah. And Gwenthyan's sort of she's a bit of a harpy. But, it's not working for me. I like Gwenthyan. I don't think I'm supposed to.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree on that point. Yeah, doesn't she? I'm trying to find the line where she basically just says, "Grissel's an idiot. Why would I be like Grisel?"
A booby
and
fool.
you're just going, yeah,
booby fool, yeah.
Alan.
Yeah, I must admit, in some ways, I'm seeing the archetype for Gwenthyan as being the wife of Bath. There are similarities in character traits, aren't there?
Well,
and it's a fairly established stock character.
If you're stealing from Chaucer, why stop at the primary material?
Well, quite.
And yes, and they explicitly mention taming a shrew. So we can assume that there's riffing on that going on there as well. Briony.
Yeah, for me it was a nice tonic, having read this irritatingly submissive and patient Grisel, to then get to read Gwenthyan as well. It was quite a nice contrast in characters.
Yeah, and I don't care what the author's intent is. If we're all rooting for Gwenthyan, then we're rooting for Gwenthyan. That's if that works, then that works. Elizabeth.
Gwenthyan, Julia, and Grisel have portray quite a range of femininity in the text, and I like that. I thought that was really good. They're so different as female characters. And their agency, if they have any, comes from very different sort of motivations. I feel like Gwenthyan's like a power woman, it's like a warrior, and Julia is something else. But Grisel is obviously the patient one. But I just like the range. I really like the range of autonomy in those three characters, and they don't seem to be apart from Grisel. Their motivations don't seem to come from just the men in their world. I think Gwenthyan had a lot of her own opinions and a lot of what she would do and what she won't do, and I think that serves for quite a good contrast to Grisel as well.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about Julia in the scene with Emulo, because of course Julia's driving that scene actually, because she's the interlocutor with Emulo. She's the one going, yeah, let me just feed you some more rope. There we go. Let's just wheel you in. Lovely. And if you'll just do the reveal, thank you very much, lads. So Julia seems sort of more removed. She's just watching and commenting on other people in the way that Gwenthyan is just sort of going for the jugular. And so those contrasts are really good. Yeah, I love that. Okay, that was Act 3 completed. That was a shape. So again, we've the two plot lines are vaguely interacting as well. So we've now got the Marquess has sort of stepped into the Suorin universe. Hasn't just been kept quite separate. So even though there are two, they're thematically connected, but also because we have this the two connections may overlap more as we go forward. We shall see. Okay, now we're going to be moving towards more perhaps depressing things, because of course we've had news that a baby has been born, so we go back to the Marquess and Grissil plot side of things. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Marquess and Furio with an infant in his arms.
Did she not see thee when thou tookest it up?
No, she was fast asleep.
Give me this blessed burden. Pretty fool, with what an amiable look it sleeps, and in that slumber how it sweetly smiles, and in that smile how my heart leaps for joy. Furio, I'll turn this circle to a cradle, to rock my dear babe. A great Roman lord taught his young son to ride a hobby horse. Then, why should I think scorn to dandle mine? Furio, behold it well. To whom is it like?
You! Oh, there's your nose and black eyebrows. Enter Mario.
Thou dost but flatter me. Here comes Mario. I know Mario will not flatter me. Mario, thy opinion. View this child. Doth not his lips, his nose, his forehead, and every other part resemble mine?
Oh, so like, my lord, that a nice difference would stay the judgment of the curiousest eye.
And yet, methinks, I am not half so brown.
Oh, indeed, your cheeks bear a more lively colour.
Furio, play thou the nurse. Handle it softly.
Were one better get a dozen than nurse one.
Mario, step to Grissil. She's asleep. Her white hand is the pillow to those cares, which I ungently lodge within her head. Steal thou the other child, and bring it hither. If Grissil be awake, and strive with thee, bring it perforce, nor let her know what hand hath robbed her of this other. Haste, Mario.
Oh, I fly, my gracious lord. Exit Mario.
Run, flattery, because I did blaspheme and call it brown. This parasite cried like an echo brown.
The child is fair, my lord. You were ne'er so fair.
I know 'tis fair. I know 'tis wondrous fair. Dear pretty infant, let me with a kiss take that dishonour off, which the foul breath of a profane slave laid upon thy cheeks. Had I but said, my boy's a blackamoor, he would have damned himself, and so have swore.
And with that bit of really quite problematic exchange, we will move on. I apologise. I've just stolen Mario from Act 4. I'll hand it back to Lynn. Enter Grissil with Mario with the child.
Give me mine infant. Where's my other babe? You cannot play the nurse. Your horrid eyes will fright my little ones and make them cry. Your tongue's too rough to sound a lullaby. 'Tis not the pleasure of my lord, I know, to load me with such wrong.
No, I unload you.
Give her her child, Mario, and yet stay. Furio, hold thou them both. Grissil, forbear. You are but nurse to them. They are not thine.
I know, my gracious lord, they are not mine. I am but their poor nurse, I must confess. Alas, let not a nurse be pitiless. To see the cold air make them look thus bleak makes me shed tears because they cannot speak.
If they could speak, what think you they would say?
That I, in all things, will your will obey.
Obey it then in silence. Shall not I bestow what is mine own as likes me best? Deliver me these brats. Come, press me down with weighty infamy. Here is a load of shame, of speckled shame. O God, how heavy an armour full of dishonour is. Here's two. Grissil, for this I'll thank none else but you. Which way soe'er I turn, I meet a face that makes my cheeks blush at mine own disgrace. This way or this way, never shall mine eye look thus or thus, but oh me, presently. Take them for God's sake, Furio. Presently, I shall spend childish tears, true tears indeed, that thus I wrong my babes and make her bleed. Go, Grissil, get you in.
I go, my lord. Farewell, sweet, sweet, dear babes. So you were free. Would all the world's cares might be thrown on me.
And exit Grissil.
Ha! Ha! Why, this is pleasing harmony.
My lord, they'll roll. What shall I do with them?
Tell her thou must provide a nurse for them. Comes she not back, Mario?
No, my lord.
Tush, tush. It cannot be but she'll return. I know her bosom bears no marble heart. I know a tender mother cannot part with such a patient soul from such sweet souls. She stands and watches sure, and sure she weeps to see my seeming flinty breast, Mario. Withdraw from me. Furio, stay thou here still. If she return, seem childish and deny to let her kiss or touch them.
Exeunt Marquess and Mario. Oh, faith not I. I have not such a heart. And she asks to touch them, I'll deny it, because I'll obey my lord. Yet she shall kiss and touch them too, because I'll please my lady. Alas, alas, pretty fools, I love you well, but I would you had a better nurse. Re-enter Grissil stealingly.
A better nurse? Seek'st thou a better nurse? A better nurse than whom?
Than you. Away.
I am their mother. I must not away. Look, look, good Furio. Look, they smile on me. I know, poor hearts, they fear to smile on thee. I prithee, let me have them.
Touch them not.
I prithee, let me touch them.
No, hands off.
I prithee, gentle Furio, let me kiss them.
Not one kiss for a king's crown.
Must I not kiss my babes? Must I not touch them? Alas, what sin so vile hath Grissil done, that thus she should be vexed? Not kiss my infants? Who taught thee to be cruel, gentle curl? What must thou do with them?
Get them a nurse.
A nurse? Alack, what nurse? Where must she dwell?
I must not tell you till I know myself.
For God's sakes, who must nurse them? But do but name her, and I will swear those fiery eyes do smile, and I will, that which none else will swear, that thy grim brows do mercy's livery wear.
Choose you. Re-enter Marquess standing aside.
Oh God, might Grissil have her choice? My babes should not be scared with thy devil's voice. Thou get a nurse for them. They can abide to taste no milk but mine. Come, I'll chide. In faith, you cruel man, I'll chide indeed. If I grow angry.
I care not.
To chide and curse thy lord, thou hast more need.
Wilt thou not tell me who shall be their nurse?
No.
Wilt thou not let me kiss them?
No, I say.
I prithee, let my tears, let my bowed knees bend thy obdurate heart. See, here's a fountain which heaven into this alabaster bowels instilled to nourish them. Man, they'll cry and blame thee that this runs so lavishly. Here's milk for both my babes, 2 breasts for 2.
Poor babes, I weep to see what wrong I do.
I pray thee let them suck. I am most meet to play their nurse. They'll smile and say 'tis sweet which streams from hence. If thou dost bear them hence, my angry breasts will swell, and as mine eyes let fall salt drops, with these white nectar tears, they will be mixed. This sweet will then be brine. They'll cry. I'll chide and say the sin is thine.
Mine arms ache mightily, and my heart aches.
And so doth mine. Sweet sounds this discord makes.
Here, madam, take one. I am weary of both. Touch it and kiss it too. It's a sweet child. Would I were rid of my misery, for I shall drown my heart with my tears that fall inward.
Oh, this is gently done. This is my boy, my firstborn care. Thy feet that ne'er felt ground have travelled longest in this land of woe, this world's wilderness, and hast most need of my most comfort. Oh, I thank thee, Furio. I knew I should transform thee with my tears, and melt thy adamantine heart like wax. What wrong shall these have to be ta'en from me? Mildly entreat their nurse to touch them mildly, for my soul tells me that my honoured lord does but to try poor Grissel's constancy. He's full of mercy, justice, full of love.
My cheeks do glow with shame to hear her speak. Should I not weep from joy, my heart would break, and yet a little more I'll stretch my trial.
But why? Why must he continue to stretch his child? I mean, it's like this. It's like earlier. Here's milk. No, was it? Poor babes, I weep to see what wrong I do. Then don't do it. Yeah, it's because we're still, as of yet, we're still given no particular reason for why he's doing any of this at all, apart from story. And yeah, I mean, it's a emotionally wrenching situation. We have babies, we have a servant who really doesn't want to be doing what he's doing. We've got some imagery that's really quite racist. It's doing a lot of things here. Yeah, and it just keeps piling more of them on. Briony.
Yeah, that was really beautifully written Grisel stuff there. Like I usually struggle to kind of empathise with this sort of character, but that was really, really lovely.
Lynn.
Yeah, I mean the scene itself is really quite moving and emotionally layered and everything, but the Marquess, it's not making much sense to me. He's sort of acting like he's compelled, like he has no choice but to do this. Oh, I hate this, is breaking my heart to do this to my wife whom I love, but I got to do it anyway. Like, why? Like, what? Yeah, the story is this outside force that's making him do stuff he doesn't really want to do.
Yeah, if only he was just hearing voices from God or something, if there was something outside that was just saying you have to do this,
Right.
If he could just turn to the author every so often and say, why am I doing this again? Because.
One Marquess in search of an author.
Yeah. Yeah, because I say the situation works. It's a very effective scene, because you bring on the heartstrings and you bring on two babies, and it's you got these twins. And yeah, what else do you do beyond turn the screw even more, which is possibly where we're about to go. Hence the fact I put a little pause in there. Marquess, if you would like to call for your extended court, please.
Mario, Lepido.
Enter Mario and Lepido.
My gracious lord.
You shall be witness of this open wrong. I gave straight charge she should not touch these brats. Yet has she tempted with lascivious tears the heart of Furio. See, she dandles them. Take that child from her. Stay, stay, I'll commend that pity in thee which I'll reprehend.
Do.
Dare you thus contradict our straight command? But here's a trusty groom. Out, hypocrite! I shall do justice wrong to let thee breathe for disobeying me.
My gracious lord.
Tempt me not, siren, since you are so loving. Hold you, take both your children, get you gone. Disrobe her of these rich habiliments, take down her hat, her picture and her gown, and as she came to me in beggary, so drive her to her father's.
My dear lord.
Vex me not, good Mario. If you woo me, or if you shed one tear to pity her, or if by any drift you succour her, you lose my favour everlastingly.
We must obey, since there's no remedy.
You must be villains. There's no remedy. Mario, Lepido, you two shall help to bear her children home.
It shall not need. I can bear more.
Thou bearest too much indeed.
Come, come, street lambs, well laugh and live content. Though from the court we live in banishment, these rich attires are for your mother fit, but not your nurse. Therefore, I'll off with it.
Away with her, I say.
Away? Away? Nothing but that cold comfort. We'll obey. Heaven smile upon my lord with gracious eye.
Drive her hence, Lepido.
Good madam, hence.
Thus tyranny oppresseth innocence. Thy looks seem heavy, but thy heart is light, for villains laugh when wrong oppresseth right.
She runs to the Marquess.
Must we be driven hence? Oh, see, my lord, sweet pretty fools. They both smiled at that word. They smile as who should say indeed, indeed, your tongue cries hence, but your heart's not agreed. Can you thus part from them? In truth, I know your love cannot let these infants go.
She'll triumph over me. Do what I can.
And he turns from her.
Good madam, hence.
Oh, send one gracious smile before we leave this place. Turn not away. Do but look back. Let us but once more see those eyes whose beams shall breathe new souls in three. It is enough. Now we'll depart in joy. Nay, be not you so cruel. Should you too be thus driven hence, trust me, I'd pity you.
Disrobe her presently.
It shall be done.
It shall be done.
Work some good deeds thus you would not run.
Exeunt Grissil, Mario, and Lepido.
Oh, Grissil, in large characters of gold, thy virtuous sacred frame shall be enrolled. Tell me thy judgment, Furio, of my wife.
I think, my lord, she's a true woman, for she loves her children. A rare wife, for she loves you. I believe you'll hardly find her match. And I think she's more than a woman, because she conquers all wrongs by patience.
Yet, once more will I try her. Presently I'll have thee go to old Janiculo's, and take her children from her. Breed some doubt, by speeches, in her, that her eyes shall never behold them more. Bear them to Pavia. Commend us to our brother, say from us that we desire him, with all kind respect, to nurse the infants, and withal conceal their parentage from any mortal ear. I charge thee on thy life, reveal not this. I charge thee on thy life, be like thy name, when thou comest to her, rough and furious.
Well, I will. It's far from Selous to Pavia. The children will cry. I have no teats, you know. 'Twere good you thought upon't.
There's gold.
Well, that's good.
Provide them nurses.
That's better. I will, and I can. Exit Furio.
Away! Though I dare trust thy secrecy, yet will I follow thee in some disguise, and try thy faith and Grissil's constancy. If thou abide unblemished, then I swear I have found two wonders that are seldom rife, a trusty servant and a patient wife.
And scene ends. Furio had a couple of nice lines there. I did like the the gold's good. Yes, good. It's useful. That provide nurses. Yes, that's better. There's it's just turning the screw. I think it's just I'm starting to wonder whether there is an audience response expected every time he says, "I'll try her once more." No, for the love of God, just stop. I wonder whether that's actually a legitimate design of it, not just something that that we see. Other thoughts in the room? This tricksy tale, Elizabeth.
Yeah, my heart just sank when I heard, "Yet once more will I try her." I thought, I actually thought when the twins were born that would kind of be an end to the Marquess's tirade, but obviously, it's just the beginning of another phase of it.
Yeah, and again, because we have no reason for why he's doing it, there's no reason for him to stop doing it either. Yeah. I mean, it's like, at what point do you go, well, she's clearly patient and enough, I think we've reached the point where that level of testing is clearly now quite spurious. Any other thoughts before we nip back to the other elements of this narrative? Lois.
I suppose you could say that her behavior shows something about the class she comes from. I mean, that she's just completely used to being told what to do, to being very patient, to being obedient, and that this just shows how if you beat somebody down long enough, that they'll stay there.
Mm. Mm.
Because her father is much the same, and the only reason Laureo isn't is that he's been to university.
Yeah.
9 years, no degree.
Yeah, makes a difference. He finally learned something. Yeah.
Okay, let's indeed go back to that household. They're all not in the best place. So Act 4, Scene 2, enter Janiculo and Laureo with burdens of osiers.
Father, how fare you?
Very well, my son. This labor is a comfort to my age. The Marquess hath to me been merciful in sending me from courtly delegates to taste the quiet of this country life.
Call him not merciful. His tyranny exceeds the most inhuman.
Peace, my son. I thought by learning thou hadst been made wise, but I perceive it puffeth up thy soul. And thou takest a pleasure to be counted just, and kick against the fault of mighty men. Oh, 'tis in vain. The earth may even as well challenge the potter to be partial for forming it to sundry offices. Alas, the error of ambitious fools! How frail are all their thoughts, how faint, how weak! Those that do strive to jostle with the great are certain to be bruised, or soon to break. Come. Mel with our osiers, here let's rest. This is old homely home, and that's still best.
Enter Babulo with a bundle of osiers in one arm and a child in another. Grissil after him with another child.
Hush, 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 and I dance mine own child, dance mine own child. Ha ha, whoop, old master, hi, so ho ho, look here, and I dance my own child. Is sixpence a week, and sixpence a week, a groat soap and a candle. I met her in the osier grove, crying, hush, 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 hush. I thought it had been some bigger woman because of her picture, for you know, they bear such household stuff to put drink and porridge together. And I dance mine own child.
Oh, father, now forswear all patience. Grissil comes home to you in poor array. Grissil is made a drudge, a castaway.
Grissil is welcome home to poverty. How now, my child, are these thy pretty babes?
And I dance mine own child. Not that there, not that there.
Why art thou thus come home? Who sent thee hither?
It is the pleasure of my princely lord, who, taking some offence to me unknown, hath banished me from care to quietness.
Think for care, old master. But now, old grandsire, take this little Pope innocent. We'll give over basket making and turn nurses. Cheers, Uncle Laureo. 'Tis no matter. You shall go make a fire. Grandsire, you shall handle them. Grissil shall go make pat, and I'll lick the skillet. First I'll fetch a cradle. 'Tis a sign 'tis not a dear year when they come by two at once. Here's a couple, quoth Jackdaw. Art thou there? Sing, grandsire.
Exit Babulo.
What said the Marquess when he banished thee?
He gave me gentle language, kissed my cheek, for God's sake, therefore speak not ill of him. Tears trickling from his eyes, and sorrow's hand stopping his mouth, thus did he bid adieu, whilst many a deep-fetched sigh from his breast flew. Therefore, for God's sake, speak not ill of him. Good Lord, how many a kiss he gave my babes, and with wet eyes bade me be patient. And by my truth, if I have any truth, I came from court more quiet and content by many a thousand part than when I went. Therefore, for God's love, speak not ill of him.
O vile dejection of too base a soul! Hast thou beheld the paradise of court, fed of rich several meats, bathed in sweet streams, slept on the bed of pleasure, sat enthroned whilst troops as saint-like have adored thee? And being now thrown down by violence, Dost thou not envy those that drive thee hence?
Far be it from my heart from envying my lord in thought, much less either in deed or word.
Then hast thou no true soul, for I would curse from the sun's rising to the western fall the Marquess and his flattering minions.
By day and night, kind heaven protect them all. What wrong have they done me? What hate to you? Have I not fed upon the prince's cost, been clothed in rich attires, lived on his charge? Look here, my russet gown is yet unworn, and many a winter more may serve my turn, by the preserving it so many months. My pitcher is unhurt, see, it is filled with crystal water of the crisp spring. If you remember, on my wedding day, you sent me with this pitcher to the well, and I came empty home, because I met the gracious Marquess and his company. Now hath he sent you this cup full of tears, you'll say the comfort's cold. Well, be it so, yet every little comfort helps in woe.
True model of true virtue. Welcome, child. Thou and these tender babes to me are welcome. We'll work to find them food. Come, kiss them soon, and let's forget these wrongs as never done.
Re-enter Babulo with a cradle.
Where be the infidels? Here's the cradle of security, and my pillow of idleness for them, and their grandsire's cloak, not of hypocrisy, but honesty, to cover them.
Lay them both softly down. Grissil, sit down. Laureo, fetch you my lute. Rock thou the cradle. Cover the pool fool's arm. I'll charm their eyes to make us sleepy by sweet-tuned lullabies.
And there's a song.
Golden slumber kiss your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise. Sleep, pretty wantons, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Rock them, lullaby. Care is heavy, therefore sleep you. You are care, and care must keep you. Sleep, pretty wantons, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Rock them, lullaby.
Enter Furio and the Marquess aloof, disguised with baskets. Leave singing.
We may choose, grandsire, so far once more. We'll alamira him, and wail in woe, and who can hinder us?
Cirrus Scholar, read there. It's a commission for me to take away these children.
Nay then, you're welcome. There's 4 groats, and here's 4 more.
Take away my children? Gentle Furio, why must my babes bear this ungentle doom?
Go look.
Oh, misery! Oh, most accursed time, when to be foes to guilt is held a crime. Sister, this fiend must bear your infants hence.
Good Grissil, bear all wrongs with patience.
Good father, let true patience cure all woe. You bid me be content. Oh, I be you so.
Father, why do you weep?
What can I do? Though her he punish, he might pity you.
Let's fret and curse the Marquess cruelly.
Aye, by my troth, that's a good way. We may well do it, now we're out of his hearing.
Must I then be divorced, and lose this treasure? I must, and am content, since 'tis his pleasure. I prithee tell me, whither they must go?
No.
Art thou commanded to conceal the place?
Aye.
Then will I not inquire. Thou dost but jest. I know thou must not rob me. 'Tis to try, if I love them. No, here I read. That which strikes blind mine eyes makes my heart bleed. Farewell, dear souls, adieu, adieu. Your father sends, and I must part from you. I must, oh God, I must. Must is for kings, and low obedience for low underlings.
He shall not hail them thus. Keep them perforce. The slave looks on them with a murdering eye.
No, he shall not have them. Knock out his brains and save the little hop of my thumbs.
Do if you dare.
How now, my hearts? What's the matter?
What carest thou?
This is poor Grissil, wife unto our duke, and these her children. Thus he sends her home, and thus he sends a serpent to devour their precious lives. He brings commission to hale them hence, but whither none can tell.
Forbear, forbear.
Take them from him perforce. Are these his children?
So she says.
2 sweet ducks. And is this his wife?
Yes, he's lain with her.
A pretty soul. Sirrah, thou wilt be hanged for this.
Hang thyself.
Beat him. But first take these 2 from his arms. I am a basket maker, and I swear I'll die before he bear away the babes.
Oh, rare, cry prentice and clubs. The corporation cannot be. Sirrah, set down thy baskets and do it pell-mell.
Would I were rid of my office.
What will you do? Drive this rash fellow hence?
The Marquess is a tyrant and does wrong.
I would not for the world that he should hear thee.
I would not for 10 words but hear my Grissil.
A tyrant? No. He's mercy even himself. Justice in triumph rides in his 2 eyes. Take heed how thou profanest high deities. Go, Furio, get thee gone. Good father, help me to guard my dear lord's servant from this place. I know he'll do my pretty babes no harm. For see, Furio looks gently. Oh, get thee gone. Pity sits on thy cheeks, but God can tell my heart says my tongue lies. Farewell, farewell.
Stay, Sirrah. Take thy purse.
I let none fall.
Off art.
A purse of gold, Furio, is fallen from thee.
It's none of mine. Sirrah, basket maker, if my arms were not full, thou shouldst have thy hands full. Farewell, Grissil. If thou never see thy children more, curse me. If thou dost see them again, thank God. Adieu. Exit Furio.
Farewell and be hanged.
I will thank God for all. Why should I grieve to lose my children? No, no. I ought rather rejoice because they are born to their father.
Daughter, there's nothing in this purse but gold.
So much the better, master. We'll quickly turn it into silver.
This purse that fellow did let fall. Run, run, carry it him again. Run, Babulo, away with it. 'Tis laid to do us wrong.
Try all their golden baits. Stay, never run. They can do no more wrong than they have done.
What ails my Grissil? Comfort thee, my child.
I'll fetch Rosa Solace.
Poor soul, her grief burns inward, yet her tongue is loth to give it freedom. I do wrong. Oh, Grissil, I do wrong thee, and lament that for my sake thou feelest this languishment. I came to try a servant and a wife. Both have I proved true. The purse of gold I brought, and let it fall of purpose to relieve her. Well, may I give her gold, that so much grieve her. As I came in by stealth, so I'll away. Joy has a tongue, but knows not what to say.
Exit Marquess.
So, father, I am well. I am well indeed. I should do wondrous ill should I repine at my babes' loss, for they are none of mine.
I am glad thou takest this wound so patiently.
Whoop! Whither is my brother basket maker gone? Ah, let me peep. I smell a rat. Sneak hence and never take leave. Either he's a crafty nag, or else he dogs Furio to bite him. For when a quarrel enters into a trade, it serves 7 years before it be free.
Let him be who he will. He seemed our friend. Grissil, lay up this gold. 'Tis Furio's, sure, or it may be thy lord did give it him to let it fall for thee. But keep it safe. If he disdain to love thee as a wife, his gold shall not buy food to nourish thee. Grissil, come in. Time swiftly runs away. The greatest sorrow hath an ending day.
And exeunt. So, yes, at the moment of discovering that That Grissil is continues to be patient and obedient, and the point where the Marquis should throw off his hood and go ta-da! No, he doesn't. He keeps going. Right. Okay. Continuing that line of stuff. Furio, I do like Furio's line of just God, I were rid of my office. Just at the point where we're all going, right, shall we beat him to death then? And she's going, yeah, I really hate this job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lois.
Yeah, there's a comic element in Furio. I mean, that earlier bit where he's saying something like, I'd rather do something rather than be a nurse. I mean, the kids are probably squirming and yelling, and this poor guy is sort of stuck with looking after young babies.
Yeah, there is that throughout all of this, because it's a really interesting part actually. It's sort of it's starting to appeal to me. I'm sort of going, yeah, there is a sort of comic doom to him that's quite interesting. Briony.
Yeah, I've lost all respect for Grisel again, but her dad as well. What dad would be like? I'm really happy that you're taking all of this. It's nice to see you being so patient and just letting this man abuse you. What dad would say that?
Yeah. Well, he sort of explained it earlier to Laureo. There's no hope anyway. I mean, they're bound to win. We can't do anything.
Yeah, and Laureo's just got to go, what? And it's this stuff about oh well, welcome back to this pastoral life, isn't it wonderful in the country? And he's sort of going, sorry, did you not go to court? It was great. There was staff and there were things and it was comfortable and I didn't have to work. What is wrong with you? It's just, and I do quite like that. Yeah, there's sort of that wonder, really. Should Grissil just be sort of made of cardboard and just sort of wheeled on? And the lines, I think we had this discussion last time of just going that sort of, with some other plays as well, where you're just going, well, you're there to perform some sort of function, but you're not really human, are you? And it's where, and the same way to a degree with the Marquess as well. He's there to fulfill a plot function. And look at me, I'm being sad. Are you really sad? Do you really? Because what? Yeah, Briony.
But then she did have that moment, just a couple of scenes previously, where she was really human, and I was on her side. She was a person. She had feelings that were real, and it was moving. And now she's a cardboard cutout again.
Yeah, there was a point where she said that she was going to get angry. She didn't really. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get angry any minute now. Hang on, I'm going to work on this anger thing. I've heard about it. I've spent all my life being trained to be patient. I'm not quite sure. What are these human emotions called? Impatience. Elizabeth.
I was wondering when Furio became part of the Marquess's tirade. Like, at first it was definitely just Grisel that he was trying, but at some point it became a trial for his servants as well, and particularly to try Furio's honesty and his goodness. And I was just like, when did that happen?
It did seem to sneak up on us. The extended court were always sort of part of what he was doing, but the focus on Furio does seem to have really come in this session than last session. We knew that he was messing a bit with Mario and the other one, but yeah, Lynn then Lois.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna we're vetting our courtiers was signaled actually fairly early on. I thought I detected it in the first reading, and I think that we are focusing in on Furio now because the other two have already failed. It's like you're failing the class, you get an F. It's like you failed that assignment. So we've written Mario and the other guy, like you say, Mario and the other guy, where we've written them off. They're done. But we keep testing the people who keep passing. It's like those adaptive tests that we have here. I don't know if you have them there in your education system, that there are online tests, and if you answer a question correctly, the next one is a little bit harder. The next one's a little bit harder. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But when it's a person doing it rather than something automated, it's creepy.
Yeah, but in Furio's case, it's a sort of interesting question of whether he's passing or not, because he's being asked to do terrible, terrible things.
What's the right answer?
So he feels really bad about doing the terrible things, but he's still doing the terrible things, and that still kind of makes you a bad person if you do the terrible thing. Just feeling bad about doing the terrible thing isn't actually enough. Whereas, okay, the other ones are just awful people, but, do they even have the intelligence to recognise right from wrong? Discuss. Lois, then back to Briony.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Mario and Lepido say initially, when he asks what they think of Grissil, that she's, absolutely perfect in every way. And then when he goes on, they just have to keep agreeing with him. I mean, they're really in the same situation as Furio. They're doing something because they know they have to obey him. Yeah, Furio is given this really weird situation. I mean, I think the Marquess does tell him from the beginning that he loves Grissil and that he's doing all this to test her, but that it's absolutely essential that Furio do everything he say. And he's thus somehow helping in a virtuous action, although it gets more and more upsetting. And yet, I mean, certainly the Marquess says at the end of Act 4, Scene 1, if Grissil manages to, well, he's going to try thy faith and Gristill's constancy. And then if they both turn out to be what he hopes, then I have found two wonders that are seldom rife, a trusty servant and a patient wife. So it does become a kind of double test. But yeah, you say it's terribly unfair. I mean, Furio's feeling worse and worse about it. And he is doing awful things, although they're all pretense. I mean, he's taking the children away, giving the impression that they're going to be murdered somewhere. And then, but they're not, of course, but how, it's horrible to play on someone's feelings that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to feel like the kind of psychological experiments that that institutions would do in the 1950s or similar. Before ethics committees were properly invented. We're going, well, we need to test this proposition, so we have to just keep lying to people and do terrible. It's okay. It doesn't matter if they know what the drugs are that they're on. Yeah. It's fine because that's okay. It's ethical, isn't it? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So I'm starting to think of framing this actually as maybe that kind of framing device. As this whole thing is a more active experiment. I see lab coats to see how far you can push people, because social conventions does mean that people will acquiesce to authority in that way, and there might be something interesting there.
The Milgram experiment, wasn't it? Those people were giving electric shocks and they were terribly upset about it, and supposedly they could hear people screaming, and they kept saying, please don't make me do this, they're miserable, but then they kept on doing it because they thought they were supposed to, and that it was an important experiment.
Right. And a person with a lab coat and a clipboard told them to, right?
Yeah. I mean, where you put Marquess in that situation, is he part of the test or is he running the test? Because he's running the test, but he doesn't know why he's running the test, and it's sort of I'm quite interested in that as a way of route into a text like this, where you're sort of going, why is any of this happening? Anyway, Briony, then back to Lois.
Yeah, it's a weird one because you he's not really testing their goodness. Because like with Furio, if he's a good person, then he's a bad servant. So how is it a test that either of them can even pass, or is it have they been set up to fail? Because if she's a good mother, then she won't allow her children to be taken away. But if she's a good wife, then she will. Or it's messed up, very messed up.
Lois.
Yeah, it struck me that, the Marquess's desire to be there in disguise and watch this particularly awful episode, it's a weird sort of, it's almost voyeurism or perhaps almost a feeling that he's created this whole play and he's got to watch every bit of it, just to see how they'll do it.
Yeah, and we have this thing of him dropping this purse of gold, so to make sure that there's some sort of subsidy to keep the children alive being dropped. Again, it's sort of the way that's done. There's no stage direction explaining it. He explains it after the fact. I give her gold that so much grieve her. As I came in stealth, so I'll away. And we've got other text where we've got figures in disguise testing people and doing it, but not this degree and not in this sort of level of cruelty.
And in fact, they're not going to use the gold because Janiculo has worked out that If he disdain to love thee as a wife, his gold shall not buy food to nourish thee. They're just going to keep it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Lynn.
Yeah, it's so confusing. I mean, we have other plays from this period, kind of more in the sort of history genre, where you have a king who's kind of bad at his job or he's making a mistake. And that puts his courtiers and his family in a really difficult position, and that's dramatically really interesting. You know, like Edward the Second. I mean, he's a terrible king. He's such a bad king. He's so bad at his job, but he's still king. So what do you do? That's dramatically a really interesting situation. Or like in Woodstock, Richard is kind of a terrible king and not a good person, and Woodstock's a really terrible fit temperament wise for that court. And you know, and the old King Lear, you know, he gets redeemed because he realizes he made a mistake. So the situation where the king is screwing up, but he's still the king, is something a lot of drama in this period seems to be interested in. But there's this weird twist here where it's like the Marquess knows he's being cruel, knows he's being tyrannical, but he kind of can't help himself. It's just so weird.
It's not like a Promos and Cassandra thing where, you know, the Duke figure decides to disappear and see what happens in his absence, you know, because testing the courtiers and the extended court that way, or again the kind of thing that Marston will be doing in a moment, in the use of disguise, because he's only in disguise to check the thing that he's just this second done. Just to keep an eye on his, what I'm going to call his experiment from now on. And so yeah, it's not quite doing the same gig, is it?
No.
Yeah, and what was it? The Malcontent, where I think where there's a conversation where the in disguise Duke's wife said, "Yeah, this new Duke is going to kill me, and I don't care. I am not going to be unfaithful to my husband." And very shortly after that, he reveals himself. And he doesn't set that up deliberately, for one thing, is that Marston's plotting is so clever, is that she reveals that really desirable truth to her husband without him manipulating her into that. And as soon as he can, he tells her who he is. So that's very different. The Marquess just keeps passing, and he keeps torturing her. You know, it's not like, oh, you passed, you really love me, it's me.
Yeah, I mean, with the Malcontent, a few days down the line, you know, the Malcontent, you know, he's got a reason for doing everything that he's doing. He wants his dukedom back. He wants power back. He wants revenge, or at least reconciliation with a lot of people. And by and large, yes, he does a few slightly weird things, but on the whole, it's all got a motivation, and it's all done in a very different way. Whereas again, we have no motivation. Briony.
I think we could definitely slip a clown punch in here. I'd feel a lot better about what we've read.
Yeah, Babulo needs to give him. I mean, I did quite like the little song moment and the all the stuff with the babies. I thought that was really sweet, and actually, it gave us a little side to Janiculo as well. He's the one who's doing the song, not the clown. That interested me as well, because I was expecting the clown, because the clown was doing a bit of sing-song stuff when he comes in with one of the babies.
Janiculo is also playing a lute.
So yeah, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was struck by the remark about the twins being brown, and about how that was a lie. That actually they're very fair, and obviously fair is beautiful, and black is very, very ugly. And it just reminded me of this book by Kim F. Hall called Things of Darkness, because that book is all about how the concept of like fairness, and the whiter a character was, the more beautiful they were. And he actually says, you know, if I had said that he was a blackamoor, he would have agreed with me. I think that was Mario. Mario would have agreed with me. And I just thought that was just very poignant. I wasn't expecting them to say that, but they actually did. They didn't just allude to it or refer to it. They actually stated it.
Yes, there was a lengthy sequence of that earlier in the text, where they're playing on those thoughts. Okay, we're into, or as close as it gets to, extra time. So final thoughts from around the room. I think we've actually had a pretty good discussion generally anyway, so if you don't have anything to add, feel free to just wave us on. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's some beautiful language, some beautiful poetry, some beautiful speeches and scenes in here. It's a shame the base plot is crap.
Yeah. That seems to be the fundamental structural problem that we have here. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I have. This is going to sound really weird. But this was a very familiar plot line. Evidently, Chaucer got it from Boccaccio. That it's an old medieval tale, maybe pre-medieval. There might, I don't know. I wish one of our ballad experts was here. There might be a ballad tradition behind. So we can reasonably guess that the audience knows the basic story, that it's quite familiar. It's Cinderella or whatever. It's something that's got so much cultural familiarity that you don't have to. You have to kind of find something interesting to do with it. And we've been joking about the Marquess has to keep doing this because the story. And I wonder if that's not really a joke. I'm struggling to articulate this, is that what's going on here is kind of meta. It's like he has to keep going because he knows he's in a story and the story is making him do this and he doesn't really want to. Is this some kind of weird meditation on the force of tradition and the force of folktales and how that makes, when you try to put human beings in that creates these weird dissonant situations? Is there a level of sophistication here that's actually really quite high and that we're not recognizing because we haven't acknowledged? It's like everybody knows how this is going to turn out. Nobody in this play has a choice.
Yeah, I'd like that. There's a bell that rings, and the Marquess has to respond to story, to convention, and almost that. Yeah, I like that thought. I do think the playwrights are struggling with trying to do something different with this text. I think that they really are. And they're really playing with that. Whether they're succeeding wholly is another matter. But I do think they're trying. I do think they are. Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I like what Lynn's just said, because for me the plot isn't awful. It's the one thing that it's missing for all of us is just the Marquess's motivation. And I don't think it would be that difficult to find a motivation. I mean, Lynn's just suggested one way, but there's other ways that you could do it. And I think if he was motivated by something, we'd all kind of accept the rest of the plot. And I agree with what Alan said, that there is some really nice language in here. There's definitely some usable stuff. I think it would just need a little bit of work, but I don't think it's a big stretch to make this a workable piece.
Yeah. Okay. So Marquess has got electrodes in his head, and it's all an experiment. That's my take. Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
Yeah, we had the character of Old Merrythought at one point in one of the plays that we did. I can't remember the name. I want to say it's like a man for his
Night of the Burning Pestle.
It was Night of the Burning Pestle. Thank you, Lois. And he was one of those characters who kind of seemed to know that he was in a play and that things would be all right because he was in a play. So he had no money and none was forthcoming. But don't worry, we're in a play, so it'll all be fine. And I really like that concept that the Marquess has something meta about him, something outside of the play itself that he's obeying. So it's not the rules of the universe as according to us, but in the diegesis of the play itself, because it's a play, the Marquess has to keep going, and likewise, Patient Grissil has to stay patient and become even more patient, almost in a way to make up for her poverty, because as wealthy as the Marquess is as almost as patient as Grissil has to become. And that's why he keeps pushing her, because he has to almost ascertain her value based on her patience. And then Furio just gets dragged into the gravitational pull of what's going on there.
Lois, any final thoughts?
Well, this story is the mirror image of the one about taming a shrew, and has the same problems that, as you said, someone said, put real people into the story, and you have a lot of difficulties with it. And I think the authors are trying to not just make it more interesting, but to some extent make it more probable. I mean, both Babulo and Laureo, for example, have been added to the story, and they do provide an awful lot of commentary on the Marquess's behavior and the way things are going. I think, the difficulty with the Marquess, I think maybe the best way is to find some meta-theatrical solution, although it's a bit difficult because then you're playing the two major characters as puppets, and it doesn't altogether solve the problem of all these Welsh people that are going to reappear at some point. But for it to have a happy ending, you've obviously got to have the Marquess somehow remain likable at the end, otherwise it becomes a tragedy. And you could obviously play it that way, I suppose, if you wanted a really sour play, but I think one presumably wants there to be possibly just playing the happy ending. I assume we're going to get it as unbelievable, like the end of the Beggar's Opera or something, where everything just turns out all right because it's got to.
So we have one more session to go. We will complete the text and find out what we will get out of it, and we will see whether Babulo will come back on and give the Marquess a punch in the kisser. All that remains is thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye, my pillow of idleness.